let's do Duncan Garner's come to Jesus moment. Now, it's not necessarily a come to Jesus moment, but it certainly is a change of attitude from Mr. Garner. And people change attitudes. You've got to give them credit where they get it. Now, I want to play you this first part. This is from a few years ago, because before his come to Jesus moment, this was Duncan Garner and what he thought around politics. This is Duncan Garner's beliefs. So the election was Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Who would Garner have voted for?
I arrived in the office early this morning and told the team if I was American, I'd be voting Trump today. More on that in a sec. But I couldn't vote for Biden. I mean, why would you?
4 more years of Georgia, It's my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. You switched on me.
Who's your wife, mate? Anyway, 40 years in Washington, but he can't remember anything of it.
We choose truth over facts.
Biden is president. I mean, heck, he'd barely qualify to get a bus driver's license to take children to school and back each day. What do you, seriously? America's two options are poor. It's buffoon versus the man with the fading faculties. I'm going to go with the buffoon. I'm not proud. I just can't vote for Biden. And so back to the moment in the office, there I was. As if going vegan hasn't isolated me enough, I openly backed Trump. Oh, Trump, that guy.
I look better than them.
It's like at this point in his life, he had totally bought into all the bullshit, as to who Biden was and who Trump was.
And then the fight back, it came. Glares, was I just saying it? Just to get a rise from the newsroom. Well, it wouldn't be for the first time. But then they tore strips off me. Biden is sharp, they said. The dementia stuff is made up by Trump, they said. He's not Sleepy Joe, he's just got a stutter. What?
As Trump's been spending weeks asleep in the courtroom.
Who's your wife again?
It's my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, this is
So I think we've got the point. I don't need to play any more of it. It goes on for another 60 seconds about why he would vote for Trump. And this used to be one of the criticisms I have of Today FM. Today FM had a trying to compete with News Talk ZB, and their talkback section was a man who said he would have voted for Trump, an ACT party supporter who is now working on the platform, and someone who wanted to be a national MP. That was their talkback lineup as they were trying to compete with ZB, who had cornered the market on right-wing talk. Now, in saying all of that, we applaud our people when they have come to Jesus moments and they change their position. So let's have a listen to a little bit of the working group last night and have a listen to what was said by Duncan Garner. Of course, I forget this guy's name, Chewy. You know him, though. What's his name? This guy here? I always forget his name.
Convicted fraudster Damien Grant.
That'd be him. Talking, of course, about food in schools is an abomination and it should never happen. So let's have a listen to old Dunks on this.
Abomination.
I think the Food for Schools program should have been scrapped. The idea that you as a parent are unable to scrape together the $2 or $3 it would require to put a sandwich in the kid's lunchbox is paternalistic nonsense. It is not the state's responsibility to feed your children. It is your responsibility to feed your children.
Tell that to all the poor people.
Then tell that.
What about old people?
No.
Is it the state's responsibility to house and to give a pension to old people?
No.
I know.
What about those
disability people? What about all those disabled people who can't get a job because they're missing limbs?
We are talking about parents' responsibility.
Yeah, don't change the topic and make a logical conclusion somewhere else, because that puts holes in my libertarian stance. So please just stick with lunches.
Feed their children, and the state is turning in.
Slope.
The state is turning in. That's terribly racist. The state is turning in and saying that we don't believe as a state that you as a parent have the ability to get the $2 or $3 it requires to put a sandwich in your.
But see, that's an ACT party narrative. It's not.
No, it is not. It is not an ACT. It is not an ACT.
$3. It's more than that.
It is not an ACT party narrative, because I am criticising the ACT party for making the assumption that parents are so inept and incompetent that they cannot provide lunch for the children. I mean, do we have a situation? So at the moment, we have a cradle-to-grave welfare state. If you don't have a job, the government is going to give you money. And part of the reason that the government gives you money is to, at a minimum, feed your kids. And if you can't even do that, then that's, at some point, you've got to go down to the Salvation Army. It's not the job of the government.
I used to hold this view. I used to hold this view that I used to hold the same view as you until.
Show me where the state hurt you.
until I went around the schools and I saw the complete inequity and this guy's fancy lunch here and no one's lunch over here. So it was a standard practice. This is about feeding kids so they can learn. It's not their fault. Just deal with it.
There you go. So there's a slight change in the function of Duncan Garner. He used to believe the libertarian way, and now he thinks that we should just feed the children. You can give me 30 seconds now while I queue up the next one to make sure it doesn't stop.
Okay. So first of all, brace yourself. I'm going to give twice convicted fraudster Damien Grant a little bit of credit here for trying to hold his position that the state shouldn't help anybody.
Yeah, consistent.
He didn't want to continue down that path because the natural end of that path is all libertarians are fucking monsters that will step over corpses in the street. It's a horrible worldview, and fuck him for having it.
You know, I thought about when I was watching this about the libertarian things. I'd like to try and find a poor libertarian, because what he comes across as is people with choices, and people with choices are people of means. And I would struggle to think there'd be many beneficiaries or many low wage earners and stuff that would be libertarians, because libertarian is like the ultimate privilege, because to make choices and to look after yourself, like not to need a social welfare state, to look after yourself to whatever level you deem to be important requires money. So that's my question. How many poor people are libertarians?
The thing about libertarians is they always think they're going to be the Lord and never the serf.
Yeah.
As much as they might point fun at communism and go, oh, it's never worked, it only works on paper. That's the same fucking thing for libertarianism.
Yeah.
You are talking about Mad Max. Who has the most guns and the highest walls gets to live. You know, it's a foolish fallacy.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is, why is it the state's responsibility to feed children in schools? It's because children are citizens, and if they're fed well, they learn. And then we have an educated population for the benefit of someone like Damien Grant.
Yeah.
To live in a society with educated people. That's the benefit.
Yeah. Now, I know I played that clip with Duncan talking about voting for Trump. We don't know exactly where his politics are in New Zealand, but you would expect if someone was more left-wing minded, they would never be able to say that statement. If you're going to pick the buffoon over the and ironically, of course, Biden's had one of the most successful presidency when it comes to achievements of recent times after all of that. So I don't know where he would sit today, politically speaking, but again, to give him some credit, Bomber asked a question, something like, what's the next crazy thing to come from this government? And he echoed some things that perhaps you've been saying, Chewy, and I've been saying. Let's have a listen.
You might as well give it to Brian Tamaki. Duncan, what are we going to see next from this crazy government?
I think that this is a government that has looked very shallowly at the past national governments and pinched all their ideas because they've got no ideas of their own. I think they will go back to 1999 with Jenny Shipley and the Charter of Social Obligations.
Oh,
don't because she
remind me, sorry.
so it was a charter basically,
Yes.
and I think it had Roger Sowry and Jenny should be walking down the
Yes.
beach at Panapotomi with a dog and
That's
jumping around.
right.
And it was about if you what your country's doing for you, we want something back in return. So to get
Yes.
a benefit, you must do this, and this. Get your kids off to school and at the right time, not be late. So it was very
Descriptive.
school mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I reckon in this government we have a bit of that. And they won't have an idea of their own, so they'll go back. What can we dial up from 99? Shipley's work.
Matthew?
There you go. So looking backwards, I think he's on the money with that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
what we're going to see for the next 2.5 years.
Go further back. Go further back. Let's get Ruth Richardson back in the house.
Yep.
That's
all right.
that's what this is. And that, like, the 90s in New Zealand was a fucking monstrous, mean time that chewed families up. Oh,
Yeah. I still remember. I mean, I was only a young fella at the time, but I still remember the stories about cash registers at emergency departments. That's the example that always seems to be used.
Look, it wasn't all bad. Lots of people made a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're all donors to National Enact now because they've got good memories.
Yeah. All right. And this last part is just, I'm just going to throw back because, they're talking about first home buyers. They're talking about the cost of living. They're talking about how expensive it is to buy a house. And once again, I'm just giving Duncan some credit, the way he's grown and the way he's moved away from being a potential Trump voter. he actually does quite a good job of bringing it full circle about cost of living back to school lunches.
And those
Sorry,
with a
Duncan.
mortgage are now spending 49% of their income just serving that mortgage.
It's outrageous.
While the 4 main Australian
So
banks
just-
reap billion-dollar profits.
Yes.
Sorry,
Should
where
something
did
happen.
the 49% come from? Sorry, I hadn't heard that figure.
Facebook.
Sounds great.
That is it's the New Zealand stats.
So the
49% of mortgage holders
So
are spending.
in my father's day and in our parents' day, it was 25% and no
Yeah.
more. My father used to say to me, he's in finance, he used to say to me, no more than 25% of your income on the rent or the mortgage. So it's now double that. And you want to take away food in schools? You miserable bugger.
Within a generation.
What a misery. You're walking misery on legs.
So, I mean, even though I do feel a bit uncomfortable because they're all jovial and joking about it, the point he is making is, why can't some people afford to pay for food for their kids to have school lunches? Because they're paying so much in rent and mortgages, which I'm like, has he come to Jesus? Is he now comrade as opposed to Trump voter? I don't know, but some interesting thoughts coming out of his mouth, and credit where credit's due.
Yeah, look, it's such a position. Like we hit it here. I acknowledged it on the show when it popped up in the chat that it's parents' responsibility. Blah, blah, blah. You'll see it in the comment sections. You'll see it vomiting out of twice convicted fraudster Duncan Grant's mouth there as well. That it's the parents' responsibility to feed their kids. Yep, cool. What if they can't?
Yeah.
Do they just starve? Is that what we do? We moan and we gnash our teeth and we wring our hands when a child dies in a domestic violence type thing. But it's just as mean to just starve them through school.
Yeah.
And that classic, like I've been in that position of opening up your lunchbox and seeing what your mates have got and that you don't. That's fucking shit. The worst fucking feeling. Oh, I'm poor. That's what I've just learned today in the playground.
Yeah.
It's shit. If we can spare kids that, we fucking should. And Duncan Grant can go and live on Libertarian Island where they'll be eating each other in months. Well, they can move to that town. I saw this mentioned in the chat. I absolutely love the story. If you guys haven't read about it, there is a community in America that was a fully libertarian town. They were committed to the ideals of libertarianism. They were the whole town, and I kid you not, was overrun by bears within a couple of months because nobody would work together. It's amazing. The other thing I want to acknowledge here is Duncan Garner talking about Biden. Look, if I was in the States, I don't like Biden. I don't like Trump. They're both two very bad options. But in that choice, you hold your nose and you vote for Biden. Like, I don't see why that's a hard choice to make. And then you make sure that the Democratic Party has a better option next time round.
But that's the problem. The problem. And like, I know we've had this conversation before, and we don't need to relitigate it right now, but until they burn it down, they won't change. Because if the Democrats don't have to change because people keep holding their nose and voting for them, then they'll never get changed. I'm not saying therefore you vote for Trump, but I think that's not as easy a
binary choice, though, right?
Yeah,
I can't vote for Biden because he's old and doddery.
Yeah.
So I'm going to vote for Trump as a beacon of vigor and youthfulness and integrity. Get fucked.
In